Welcome back to the Logic Speak podcast. I'm your host, Adam Bieber. Sitting across the table is Jason Etheridge, and today we have an awesome topic that we're going to be diving into, Jason. And I've titled today's, You Shouldn't Have to Speak IT to Run Your Company.
So true.
It's a passion of yours. So let's talk a little bit about it. One of the things that we hope you take away from this is just how you can work with an IT company or work with your IT department and be empowered to feel smarter, not smaller.
Yep.
So I've heard you say this before. You shouldn't have to speak IT to run your company. Tell me why.
Well, so to explain how important this is, this goes all the way back to the naming of our company.
Yes.
So literally 21 years ago or so, when my business partner at the time, Jared, and I were thinking of what we wanted to name the company and what it could mean, Logic Speak came from this idea that typical IT people speak in three-letter acronyms, try to make things overly complex to seem like the most important person in the room. And so that's why we created Logic Speak, that we essentially speak the language of logic, but we translate it in terms that business owners and that non-IT people can understand.
Yeah.
And so that's been a core part of our business now for 21 years.
Yeah. And it's also a big part of kind of the personality and the culture that we have and how we hire. Obviously, we want very competent technical people, but they also have to be able to simplify things and put them in terms that make sense to our clients, so we're not talking over them or trying to belittle them, but that they feel empowered by the support they're getting.
That's right. We can't have IT guys that really should be locked away in server rooms, because a lot of our IT people are literally out day after day in our clients' offices, working directly with our clients, or even working remotely over the internet. We have to be able not only to provide really good technological solutions, but it's part of our core values that we care for our clients and that we show up in a way that's kind.
How do you think we got to this place where either larger companies that have an internal IT team or SMBs that are outsourcing IT, where did we start to divide and get so far away from, like when did what caused this IT technical jargon to be the thing that makes it difficult for business leaders to understand where they're at or ask for help?
I mean, I think probably built into the problem is just the technical industries. It comes engineering, sciences, IT. Back hundreds and hundreds of years, we're just really good at creating these acronyms as IT people or as technical people. And so we just get so used to drinking our own Kool-Aid that we forget that people that are not in our industry don't understand what we're talking about. And what we know is true is that anytime someone doesn't understand and we don't stop to explain, then that can have a tendency to make them feel less than or dumb or not valued. I mean, honestly, it really kind of goes back to seeing every client as having value and wanting to serve those clients in a way that makes the most sense for them.
Well, and you just hit on something so important, because there's a difference between explaining something because you think somebody's incompetent, or explaining something because you see the value of connecting and helping and supporting the person on the other side.
Absolutely.
And I think what perspective you show up to that conversation with will determine how it comes across.
Yep.
A couple months back, I guess at the beginning of the year, you and I have talked about this offline, but I did Simon Sinek put out a masterclass on presenting. And one of the takeaways I got from him was, he said, never, ever, ever use an acronym in a presentation if you're not going to explain what the acronym is.
Nice.
And that one stuck with me, because every now and then I'll be blah, 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 MSP and, this, that, and the other, and BCDR. And I'm not even technical, and I know a little bit of the jargon. And so it really did shift just the way that I have conversations and try to bridge that gap and explain things to folks when they ask me what we do over here.
Yeah. And I think we all have experienced this in our daily lives when we have to work with someone in a different industry, let's say an attorney, for instance, or a plumber or an HVAC person, someone who has a specific set of skills and industry terms, and we know what it feels like to be on the other side of it. And sometimes I think we forget what that feels like when it's us who's in the know, right? And with the technical terms. I did this talk a good while back called Technology Humility. And the idea behind it was, what you know about technology does not make you better than the clients that you serve.
Mm.
Because if you flip the script, if you work with attorneys, if you work with engineers, if you any sort of professional services, guaranteed there are things that they know that you don't.
Yep.
And so trying to keep that mindset of humility about what you know about IT, I think is something that us IT people can struggle with without thinking about it or having it kind of forefront.
Yeah. I'm impressed by this because a lot of the leadership lessons that you share from time to time come from a place of like, well, I messed this up for the first half of the 21 year, and then started to kind of
a lot of source material,
a lot of started to evolve. But you guys were kind of ahead of the curve on this of like, hey, 21 years ago, early 2000s, just past the .com, era, you guys saw, okay, there is a divide that is growing. There's a gap that is growing, and we're gonna stake our ground and our brand on simplifying things and being easy to work with. Why do you think you saw that?
I think the fork in the road really was being part of a company, an enterprise software development company that had some success. I think we ended up around 280 employees or something thereabout, and then getting acquired by Hewlett Packard, which was a 400 or 140,000 person company.
Jeez.
So what you get to see is the whole landscape of IT, right? And enterprise at that time and small business just felt very different. HP, I wouldn't disparage them. They've done very well, obviously. We all hope to have the success that HP's had over the tenure of their company. But if you kind of compare how HP views clients and how HP treats, non-technical people versus a small business, we just gravitated toward the small business side. We love the relationship. And I think, one of the things that was just unique about Jared and I is that we were both IT people, yes, but also both, had the ability to speak to business clients. We had the, kind of a little bit more of the gift of gab, if you will.
Yeah.
That a normal IT person wouldn't have. So that kind of became a foundational part of our business.
Yeah. I've heard you kind of use the analogy of a puzzle where it's like we're just a piece of the puzzle to their story of what's going on. And so when we show up not acting like we know everything, but that we may have a key piece to the puzzle that's going to help them accomplish their end goals. Again, it just goes back to the perspective of how we show up to support and serve our clients. Let's get practical for a second. How do you instill that in people? How have you tried to model and instill that in our team here?
So really, I think it starts in the hiring process.
Yeah.
That is, well, let's even, at the very beginning of the hiring process, it starts with the job posting. Yeah. And wanting to create a job posting that resonates with the type of person that we're trying to hire and one who gets this idea of humility, one who, above all, we've talked about this a lot lately. I would rather hire someone who's intelligent and kind than someone who is at the top of their game skills-wise, but not kind, which really speaks to this idea of what we're here to do, that honestly we're here to serve our clients.
Yep.
And if we're here to serve our clients, making them feel dumb should never be part of the equation.
Yeah, yeah.
And so absolutely, at the very beginning of the hiring process, one of the things that we do intentionally is we have a non-technical person do the phone interview at the beginning.
Yeah. Because
it helps us to see how an IT person will talk to someone who is obviously non-technical. Will they, is there some arrogance that comes across, which we've seen, right? And that's the very end of the line for them. Or do they, are they kind? Will they speak to them with an appropriate level of respect?
Yeah.
Right?
And humility.
Humility.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. I love that. It helps get us to where we live today, where just philosophically as a company, we're prioritizing a partnership over a transaction. Where we don't want to just be a vendor in your Rolodex of vendors that you work with. We want to be a strategic partner and advisor and consultant. And so setting the groundwork for that from the interview process, I think is awesome, because then once somebody actually joins the team, they're seeing how everyone else operates and how we do things differently here. I've told a couple of people about the client survey that we do at the end of the year, and how one of the number one pieces of feedback that we got last year was that your team is kind.
Yep.
and someone might just breeze right over that and keep going and like, hey, great job, guys, and move on. But I think that speaks volumes because in a very saturated industry where there's a lot of IT support folks out there, and there's a lot of great companies, and we get to rub shoulders with them all the time at events and different things. And people always want to talk about what your differentiator is and, what makes you a unique company. And it's a lot less the services that we provide. It's a lot more how we do it and who we are.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that's what people resonate with.
At kind of 21 years in, anyone can fix a computer. Anyone can do a project. Anyone can do a migration. But honestly, I'm probably most proud of the fact that our clients view us as kind and helpful and generous with our knowledge and our time, and that those are the things that a client feels about us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would choose that any day. I mean, yes, we have to know what we're doing.
Yeah.
No question about it. But for that to be our defining characteristics, make me incredibly proud of our organization.
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the things that we navigate is as I start a conversation with a prospective client, and they're looking and evaluating us as a potential partner for them, is just kind of understanding where they're at from a technological growth and maturity standpoint. And so how do you, as the leader of the organization, help us to be able to have those conversations all over the spectrum of, hey, we're maybe not as technologically evolved, to, hey, we want to build custom AI agents. Like, there's so many places where our clients fit and where prospective clients fit. And so kind of how do we, maybe it's the same answer, but what's your approach to how we can be that type of partner to those clients, no matter where they find themselves?
I think it really comes down to your priority. If your priority is serving your client, if your priority is learning more about them, providing solutions, not just to make a buck or not just to improve a revenue line, but if your goal is actually to have a positive impact on our clients' lives, then that governs your conversation. That governs everything that you talk about. And so approaching it, which is one of the things that we start in our sales cycle, is who we are, about us, our core values, our mission.
Yep.
And I love that that's the beginning of our conversations with prospective clients, because that sets the tone for what we're here to do.
Yeah.
And because our clients then will notice, they will know if that's not our intent, right? So they'll notice when something doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And if one of our project engineers or one of our technicians, isn't trying to have a positive impact on them, it sticks out.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're pointing to is our mission.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes right back to our mission to use our abilities and technology to have a positive impact on the lives of our clients, employees, and community.
There you go.
And so staying grounded in that North Star, I think, is where everything else flows from.
Yep.
That's powerful. So obviously there's probably some of like our friends in the industry, friends in your peer groups, people that I used to work with that might listen to this, and they're able to apply this directly to their business because they're also IT owners and they're trying to figure this stuff out as well. But what about just for a professional services company or just a business owner? How can we translate these values into just a strategic business conversation to help people better serve their clients?
So I think to kind of make it more generic or make maybe a little bit more applicable.
Yeah.
You can't fake a motive. You can't fake what you're there to do.
Yeah.
That what keeps coming up for me is authenticity, right? One of the things that I think makes us really successful in creating partnerships is that it's not just something we put on the wall. It's not just something that was in a sales presentation. They feel our core values and our mission when we meet with them, right? So, like I used to tell one of our employees that, you don't have to tell people how great you are. If you're great, they will know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And same thing about our core values. We don't have to continually, trumpet what our core values are. We just live them out.
Yep.
And the client will feel that.
Yeah.
And I think for any business, the tendency is to want to copy values of another business, right?
Sure.
You see someone's core values like, oh, that's great. We should. But that's the backwards approach, right? Your core values are really what make you you, what make you uniquely you.
Yeah.
They make you really good at what you do. And so living out those core values and being truly authentic in every client interaction is what I think clients will feel.
Yeah.
And they will feel whether or not you really believe what you say.
Yeah. Which means from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
not just being a yes person and not just, doing a little smoke and mirrors act to tell them what they want to hear.
Right.
At some point, we're going to talk all about how sales and service delivery need to be totally aligned. Yep. But I mean, that's kind of what I'm hinting at. It's this idea that we've got to, from the get-go, be true to who we are,
right?
And the authenticity of our DNA and our culture, and that sometimes means saying no. That sometimes means saying we're not a good fit. I would rather disqualify us as a potential partner to a prospective client because I know that ultimately it's better for them.
For sure, absolutely.
Than try to twist their arm and get them to say yes, and then all of a sudden they have buyer's remorse and there's all this fatigue from having to deal with it not being a good fit. I would rather find them a better fit.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm reminded of a book we really love here at Logic Speak, Radical Candor.
Yeah.
A lot of people probably think that radical candor is about just saying whatever's on your mind, and that's actually not it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to care deeply.
Yeah.
And challenge directly, and I think that's. I'm also reminded of the phrase "clear as kind."
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Clarity is probably yes. Sometimes you're going to communicate negative information or information that might be less than what you would hope for.
Sure.
But as long as you do it with clarity and with kindness and with candor, then you still are being authentic to who you are and your core values.
Yeah, that's really good. Can you share just a quick story of maybe a client situation that we've been in where the client went from overwhelmed because of this technical divide to feeling empowered and encouraged and motivated optimistic about the future?
Yeah. So we, in the last year or so, started working with a nonprofit, a fairly large nonprofit here in the Metro Atlanta area, and their IT capacity, let's say, maybe didn't believe in making things simple and not making them feel, let's say, overwhelmed is probably a better phrase. And so when we started working with them, because we work with nonprofits so well, and because again we really want to show up at their level, we want to show up where they are, and our first step was to help them unpack everything that they had, because there was so much confusion and standoffishness maybe is the right word, that they had no idea what to do. And so our first step is really just to come in and help them discover everything that they had, and then start to explain and stabilize and talk about possibilities and work with them at their speed and at their pace, and not try to apply what we thought was best.
Sure.
That the relationship has gone really, really well, and they now feel far more empowered to make decisions about their own IT than when we first started working with them, and literally it was confusion reigned the day.
Sure. And since I know what we're talking about, I think it's fair to say too, that doesn't mean it was easy. Like there've been hard conversations of kind of peeling back the onion and discovering things together and figuring out the state of things so that we could establish a baseline and grow from there. But it has been fruitful. And I think it's come back to how we've approached it, the perspective we've gone into it, the value that we started from day one with that client, and where we believe we can get to, and we're all on board trying to help them get there, which I think is awesome. So let's wrap up. Let me ask you a question. If a business owner's listening today and they suspect that they have a more transactional vendor, what would be the first thing you do? Not just an IT vendor, but what would you suggest doing?
No, I think probably the first thing is when you feel those little kind of tingly spidey senses that you're being talked down to, or that maybe you're not getting all the information, or you're being minimized. I think from a partnership perspective, the right thing is to speak up, and to say, hey, listen, I just want you to know this is how I feel like the relationship is going, because it is entirely possible that it's inadvertent or it was unintentional or that maybe there's a mismatch
Sure.
in resources or something like that. So that I think that's the first responsibility is, a partnership involves you can't have a partnership without communication. So that's the first kind of obligation. And then if that does not improve or if it gets worse, which unfortunately is what we've seen in the past with some of our clients where they tried to be a good partner. They tried to say, hey, listen, Mr. Vendor, whatever that might be, we're not feeling the partnership. We're not feeling, the care. Then it just gets worse because that vendor writes them off or just, let's just ride it out because they're upset and, we'll just keep going as long as we can. And then I guess kind of the next approach would be, or the next step would be, make sure that's part of the vendor selection process, that you're not just evaluating the technical merits of the solution.
That's great. Yeah.
But that you're also evaluating the culture or the personality of the company.
Yep.
Because, their companies have to have, that's one of the things that we look for in the sales cycle is companies that have a good operational maturity fit, a good personality fit.
Yep.
With us. Do they value what we value?
Yeah.
Do they value people and the relationship?
Yeah.
And so I think that's at least as important as the technical fit.
I love that. You're right. Out of our 10 things that we have on a list of what makes an ideal client, maybe 4 out of 10 are more cultural, are more that they're not about number of computers and size and potential monetary value. It's more about the personality and the DNA and the culture of the organization. I've started telling folks, we want to make sure that we're a good culture fit, that you guys are a good culture fit, and that we're a good culture fit for you. That's why we start with our values and our mission and all of that, because if we're not aligned there, then it's going to be really hard for us to prioritize, because what you value and what you prioritize is going to be so different than what we're willing to value and prioritize. And we're not going to lower our standards.
Right. And you can tell really quickly if those values don't resonate or if it's just a let's get to the price. Right.
I love it. Well, just a couple quick thoughts to kind of take away. So empower through clarity. You said it. Clear is kind. Clarity is king. You can educate without condescending.
Yep.
And that comes from where you're educating from. Is it from a place of I hold this person so valuable, or is it this person is worthless and doesn't know anything?
Yep.
Like those are just kind of the two, the two options there. And then empowering people, giving leaders confidence to make decisions. No matter what kind of business you're leading, you can empower the prospects and the clients that you have to make clear decisions and support them and have that that culture that empowers and encourages the people that you work with.
Yep.
I think it's awesome.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate you sharing with us. I love peeling back the onion of the OG Logic Speak and getting to talk a little bit about the origins of the name is exciting. So, well, thank you for tuning in for another episode. We'll be back soon with another great episode and some content for you. We appreciate it. Jason, thank you.
Thanks so much.